Hey y'all. So on this day, June 5th, in 2006, I entered the building at 635 Massachusetts Avenue in Washington, D.C. as the summer intern for NPR's All Songs Considered. And 20 years later, I am still in Washington, D.C. I am perhaps to a fault a very nostalgic person, so I've been reflecting a lot on my early years in DC and the years since, and certainly as a professional music person, I've been thinking about the triumphs, but also patterns that I still need to break. And I hope that I will continue to grow as a listener and as a musician too, as someone who likes to play music with friends here in DC. But mostly, I've been reflecting on this city that I love. And, you know, Washington, D.C. is not always an easy city to love. The mayor likes to push small businesses and Black people out of their homes for developers. We currently have like the National Guard, the DEA, the cops, anybody else that you could think of, basically hassling any like Black or brown teenagers that happen to be walking by. And the rest of the country kind of doesn't care. That sucks. But for all these things, the thing that I have grown to understand and appreciate about a place like Washington, D.C. is just how hard you have to want it in this city, whether you want to make food, make music, restore or make justice. There's always just like an extra step beyond. And I, as a person who considers himself an overworker, it's an ethic that I actually really appreciate about this city. Especially from a lot of the organizers and neighbors that I've met over the years. They want to make DC a city for everyone. And as I've been reflecting on all of this, I've also been thinking about the DC music scene. When I first moved here, it was a little bit formless. I couldn't really tell what was going on here. I'd come from Athens, Georgia, that, especially at the time, had such a robust music scene. And then I kind of came to a place where things felt disjointed. There was some cool noise stuff going on. Wale was starting to, do his thing. But there didn't seem to be any cooperation or collaboration or support from different groups. And so I wasn't sure what to do with that. But once I decided to stick around and make DC my home, the thing I found was that there were these little pockets of punks and metalheads and electronic musicians and rappers that all just started speaking to each other. And this was around, I'd say it kind of like really started at like 2010. But really started to pop up around 2012 when the punk band Priests started making music. I was at their second show at this tiny little Ethiopian restaurant called Asafu's They only had 6 songs to their name, and I had been invited by Gideon, the guitarist, who I'd seen around town, and they ran out of songs to play, so they just started playing them over again. This was also coincidentally the first time I saw Downtown Boys, and I think at the time they were still fairly new as well. And it was the first time it felt like home at a show. And I think that's when I truly fell in love with DC, where I could see myself becoming an active participant in the culture of DC, where I could see myself writing about bands for NPR that I think that the rest of the world should know about. And Priest was certainly one of them. But then there'd also be like Drugs of Faith, which is Richard Johnson, or there would be Maximilian Dunbar, which is Andrew Phil Pickering, who is making like these, I don't know, it was music, it was electronic music unlike anything that I'd heard at that point. It was very chill, but it's very textured and a little chaotic at the same time. It was like a nice like dichotomy happening within this music. And then there are all these spaces like the Rocket Ship and St. Stephen's and all these other venues like Velvet Lounge and 611 Florida, where all these like freaks and outcasts and misfits were coming just to make noise and make loud music that felt vital and exciting. And so my celebration of my 20 years in DC is a mixtape of my favorite 7 inches, albums, EPs, whatever, that by DC artists that I've come to love over the years. And it starts around 2008 because that's when I kind of saw that there was something more going on, and it goes right up to 2026. I love this city. I am raising my daughter in this city. I have made my home in DC. In the words of Chris Richards, DC remains undefeated. And it's something that I truly believe, even though sometimes the city drives me insane. And certainly the way that the federal government treats DC drives me even more insane. It's the people here who have made it worthwhile and exciting. And right now, you just watched me walk from my metro stop to the park near my home that I spend several weekends at out of the year. Sometimes bring a kite, sometimes bring my kid and a blanket, and it's just, DC is like a really magnificent, unique place that that takes a lot to love, but once you love it, you really don't want to leave it. So here's to however many more years that I'll spend here, but hope y'all have a great week.